Welcome to the FAA's NextGen 4DT Live Flight Demonstration Project Overview video. Over the next 10 minutes, you will get a better understanding of the project, how this project fits in the larger vision of trajectory-based operations, aka TBO, and the demonstration details. The focal point of the 4DT Live Flight Demonstration Project were live flights that allow the project team to showcase next-gen capabilities that are part of the U.S. National Airspace Systems modernization efforts. Thanks in part to the partners listed here, the project was able to safely complete both live flights during the summer of 2020. The 4DT Live Flight Demonstration Project had 4 project objectives. The first was to document 4-dimensional trajectory best practices by maximizing the use of current infrastructure by leveraging applicable IP-based communication systems. The second was to demonstrate TBO capabilities in a live flight that have recently been exercised in a lab environment. The third was to accelerate 4DT implementation into the National Airspace System and showcase benefits to air traffic management and the user community in a collaborative decision-making environment. And the last was to promote further airspace user and airspace service provider system development while encouraging industry to plan for the use of 4DT in the future. The FAA understands these activities have a much broader impact. They provide supporting data to the global community and to the global ATM modernization efforts. Specifically, these flights support activities like the connected aircraft concept, FFI scope for Release 2, and the work on data communication. This demonstration allows this work to move from the models to the flight deck. 2 of the central elements of a filed flight plan today are the route and the preferred altitude. In a 4D future, a filed flight plan will revolve around a 4-dimensional trajectory, also known as 4D trajectories or 4DT. A 4D trajectory is a collection of points that each have a latitude, longitude, altitude, and time that define the path of flight for an aircraft. 4D trajectories, by their very nature, include significantly more information than the flight plans of today. These data-rich 4D trajectories enable ground-based ATM and ATC system model to enhance their accuracy. This accuracy directly translates into improved collaborative decision-making and operational predictability. 4D trajectories are but one thread of the ICAO Global ATM operational concept, GATMOC for short. The GATMOC is a broad view of how aviation can improve operations. This includes a vision for improving safety, economic, sustainability, and security. The GATMOC encourages the ATM community to couple these visions so that every aspect of aviation is improved. Taking this holistic approach further, the GATMOC also defines the ATM community as more than just traffic managers and service providers. It also includes airspace users and those who supply products and services to the global aviation ecosystem. It defines this broad ATM community because of the need for each stakeholder to work together to improve the system and realize the benefits. To guide the ATM community operationalize the concepts in the GATMOC, ICAO published a roadmap for how new procedures and technologies are implemented in a coordinated way. This roadmap is referred to as the Global Air Navigation Plan, or GAMP. This planning tool pushed the ATM community to work together in setting priorities to drive the evolution of the global air navigation system in a safe, secure, and environmentally sustainable way. In addition to 4D trajectories, several other threads of the GATMOC were encompassed in the 4DT Live Flight demonstration. These include flight and flow, information for a collaborative environment, known as FFIs, system-wide information management, known as SWIM, digital information sharing via AXIM, FIXM, and IWIXM, all contributing with a connected aircraft via IP data link to achieve trajectory-based operations, better known as TBO. Moreover, this was accomplished using existing flight deck technologies. The aviation community has identified 3 essential activities that are necessary for implementation of the many threads demonstrated as part of the 4DT Live Flight demonstration. These include elaborating upon the TBO procedures, validating technologies, and building confidence by demonstrating concepts with the stakeholder community. The 4DT Live Flight demonstration at its core has allowed the FAA to elaborate its procedures specific to its operating environment, allowing it to better understand how SWIM, FFIs, and TBO all work together in the NAS. The 4DT LFD also allows the FAA to understand the system gaps, as well as validate the technology currently available, such as fans and datacom. The demo has enabled the third essential activity by giving the FAA an opportunity to socialize with the ATM community, to show how far the FAA has progressed, validate procedures, and demonstrate what the FAA is able to do. Now that you have a better understanding of the concepts included in the 4DT Live Flight demonstration and its justification, let's move forward with a brief overview of the demonstration. To start with, here's a snapshot of how various actors in the NAS interact today. The bidirectional connectivity shown in green allows us to point out that in today's NAS, the aircraft does not communicate directly with the ATM. A majority of today's 2D information is exchanged using voice, however, the use of CPDLC is growing. Additionally, with electronic flight bags, or EFBs, in nearly every cockpit, their usage is focused on providing information to the flight deck and are not currently part of negotiations and clearances. Looking towards the future, in the envisioned 4D environment, in addition to current connectivity, the yellow arrows indicate the availability of IP-based infrastructure. This will allow flight operation centers, known as FOCs, and flight decks via their EFB to file flight plan changes with ground-based automation services. FOCs and EFBs will also be able to digitally negotiate en route using ground-to-ground swim and air-to-ground swim. The envisioned environment also looks to expand the use of the EFB to include sending and receiving clearance-based information. For the 4DT live flight demo, the Florida NextGen testbed, called out on the map as the FTB, will provide both ATM and ATC services to enable the demonstration of envisioned environment capabilities. The 4DT live flight demo route was driven by a combination of Boeing EGO demonstrator testing needs and the 4DT LFD requirements. It is for that reason the flight departed from Boeing Field, or KBFI in Seattle, flew to the start of the demonstration route at Koki, then completed the 4DT LFD demo requirements and continued on to its final destination. Prior to departure, the Boeing FOC submitted a preliminary flight plan, or PFPL, 24 hours in advance and filed an enhanced flight plan, or EFPL, 3 hours before takeoff. Between KBFI and Koki, there were no demo activities. After crossing Koki, the demonstration initiated a route change, followed by a route and a time over point change. The 787 continued to cross Trummo where the crossing time was recorded, after which a change to the route was completed. Prior to MCI, the aircraft was provided with a time constraint at the meter point Cooks, and the aircraft flew the Lucet 1 approach into Gary, Indiana, or KGYY down to Cooks, ending the demo. After Cooks, the flight deck switched flight plans and continued to Charleston. And Route Change 1 was a combination of a route change and a time over point change that was performed after crossing Koki waypoint. This was initiated because of an AirMet, followed by a DFR, that were published via SWIM and received by the EFB on the flight deck. The FOC's tools leveraged FFI's trajectory negotiation concepts with FAA's ATM systems to present route options back to the flight deck. With the DFMS and ERAM sharing information, the demo ATC at the FTB was able to send a clearance advisory that included a route change and a time constraint to the flight deck. The 4DT LFD team utilized a data-rich clearance that included 4D information sent via SWIM and received by the EFB. This FIXM-based clearance is an example of how data-rich clearances could be delivered in the future using IP data links to any device. The change was completed nearly 50 minutes prior to the Trummo waypoint. This is a significant improvement on the current day operations and highlights the power of SWIM and FFIs to improve trajectory negotiations and the IP data link to exchange data-rich information with the flight deck. And Route Change 2 was triggered by several PIREPs published via SWIM, shown as red dots. The flight crew and dispatcher coordinated to route around the PIREPs, and an accepted revision request resulted in the demo ATC at the FTB sending a demo CPDLC clearance for the reroute. Upon receiving the demo CPDLC clearance, the aircraft logged out of the demo CPDLC and logged into the live NAS CPDLC in order to change their filed route in the NAS through ZKC controllers. After the route had been shortened by 12 minutes, the dispatcher and the ground operations crew at Gary, Indiana coordinated to provide a gate assignment for BOE 069, shared with the flight deck using a FIXM message. In the future, this information could be shared with the ATM and ATC to allow for better optimized approach control. And Route Change 2 allowed for the 4DT LFD team to explore sending 3 different clearance messages to the same aircraft: CPDLC 1.0 initial service, CPDLC 1.0 full service, and demo IP clearances. Being able to explore a variety of message transmissions highlighted how the current technological infrastructure can be leveraged to provide alternate options for airspace users to access and operate in a data-rich information exchange environment for collaborative decision-making. As the aircraft crosses the freeze horizon for Cooks, point on the Lucet 1 approach into KGYY, the scheduled time of arrival is frozen. TBFM sends the frozen STA to ERAM, and ERAM generates a time constraint message. In today's NAS, this time constraint message is communicated to the flight deck via voice. In the 4DT live flight demonstration, the time constraint message was converted to a FIXM-based time constraint and sent to the EFB using the IP data link. This FIXM-based message is consumed by the aircraft systems, and the aircraft speed is adjusted accordingly. The aircraft was able to cross this meter point within 23 seconds of the time constraint, well within the plus or minus minute tolerance. Throughout the demonstration, intent information generated by the FMS was shared with the FTB via SWIM. Every 5 minutes, an intent message consisting of speed profile and mass for 10 waypoints ahead of the aircraft was downlinked. Since the 4D intent data included top descent as well, the ground system's models combined intent data with accurate wind data to improve their predictions, allowing TVFM to freeze an achievable FCA. To recap, the 4DT live flight demo was able to demonstrate 4D trajectory negotiations, clearances, and intent information with the connected aircraft. The live flight in the NAS was also able to demonstrate FFICE Revision 1 and Revision 2 capabilities, both ground-to-ground and air-to-ground swim, as well as the sending and receiving of AXIM, FIXIM, and IWIXIM messages. All of this was done leveraging existing flight deck technology available on the stock Boeing 787 with a few software modifications. The exciting part is, a lot of what can be done with 4DT and with future operations can be handled with the software, which is a good thing because it's easier to change. At every step of the project's development, Delta and United have provided critical guidance to how the envisioned 4DT future could shape their businesses. During the demonstration, we heard from Captain Greg Young, Delta's chief technical pilot, who talked about the 3 ways 4DT could improve delivery. We also heard from Captain Rocky Sohn, United's chief technical pilot for surveillance, who talked about the need to increase dynamic system response to weather events and how 4DT will allow for greater input into collaborative decision-making during those weather events. Lastly, we heard from Chris Reynolds, United's chief dispatcher, who talked about how 4DT will allow him to advocate on behalf of his flight by providing smart trajectory options in both the pre-departure phase and airborne phase. Safety, efficiency, and sustainability are central themes in the future outlined in the GATMOC. We also heard from the airlines as they discussed the benefits they foresee, all of which centered around safety, efficiency, and sustainability, not as a trade-off, but together. The 4DT live flight demonstration was able to bring the concepts and vision laid out in the GATMOC to show how close this reality really is. Recent upgrades by airlines and OEMs have set the stage for improved operations by leveraging existing technology. The evolution and widespread use of technology in people's private lives have primed users and operators to take advantage of the digital tools. The FAA's 2035 vision for improved real-time operations, use of analytics, and growth in air-to-ground data exchange makes them the ideal partner to move the future of the NAS to 4D. Thank you for watching this video.